Varguji Ka Khalsa, Varguji Ki Fateh. Welcome to Right to Believe, a podcast dedicated to amplifying the stories of individuals whose lives intersect with law, identity, and resistance. Today's episode is not just a conversation, it's a testimony to resiliency. It's about courage in the face of legislation that aims to erase identity. It's about a Sikh woman, an educator who was told she couldn't teach because of her dastar. And it's about what happens when that woman refuses to step aside. We are honored to welcome Amrit Kaur, a passionate educator, practicing Sikh, and now one of the lead appellants in the Supreme Court case challenging Quebec's Bill 21, a law that prohibits public sector employees from wearing religious symbols while on duty. This includes teachers in public schools, judges, police officers, and other authority figures. Amrit Kaur, thank you for joining us today. Let's start with the day everything changed. You had just graduated with your teaching degree, a moment that should have been full of hope, and that very same day, Bill 21 was passed in Quebec. What did that moment feel like for you?
First of all, Vaigur Ka Khalsa, Vaigur Ki Fateh. Thank you for having me. Um, that moment felt a little bit of a betrayal. In the morning, I was celebrating, really happy with my family. People were saying congrats. And then, when I came home, I just saw the news that had been passed. So you kind of feel a bit snubbed, if anything. And it makes you think, you're taught from day one, study hard, you can do anything you want to do, just be a good person. But that's a fallacy when laws like this come into existence.
Yeah. And it's honestly so hard to even imagine the emotional complexity of that day from like your
Mhm.
pride and just like the readiness for you to teach. And then suddenly being told that you couldn't even show up in the classroom with your dastar. And as a Sikh
Yeah.
woman who wears a dastar, did it feel like the law was targeting you directly?
At the moment, I think it did. I mean, I got a little bit of an ego boost in some weird way that, oh my God, I'm such a dangerous person. Like it's just me that they're after. And
Yeah.
that's why they've made this law. But in all seriousness, I think it was just more targeted to people who are different.
Mm.
And it was kind of a scapegoatage that was happening where it was women who are targeted. It's people who come from faith backgrounds. It's people who look different, who are visible minorities, different color skin, different names. It's all of that combined that was being attacked. And men too. I will say this, it's attacked at men as well, but I think disproportionately affects women because women are primarily educators. So it's trying to be neutral, but at the same time, it's not being neutral because there's so many intersectionalities that are affected by it. Um, so it's a little bit of a hypocrisy in
Yeah,
that regard.
I agree. And then I know you ultimately made the difficult decision to leave Quebec and move across the country to BC to pursue your
Mhm.
teaching degree. That kind of displacement goes beyond geography. So, what was that transition like for you?
Um, Truthfully, it's nice to go to BC because it's a very beautiful province. There's a lot of suncut there. But when you think about it more realistically, it's literally moving away from your friend circle, from your family, moving to a random place. And when you get there, you're like, okay, we got to learn the roads, got to learn the local culture there. You have to get your own friend circle, your own sangat.
Mm.
And at the same time, like I taught at a Sikh school that at that point because I really needed that community being, away from home and everything. And that was really helpful in helping me integrate. And I had privileges, with my move. Not everybody had that or the opportunity to do so because maybe they've bought a house, maybe they have family, maybe they have other responsibilities. So for me, it was literally starting again from zero, which was tough. Yeah, BC is a wonderful province to live in. I taught at a great school. I met really wonderful people, but there was, I think, the first year where, I'd be upset. I'd miss home, I'd cry, and people close to me saw that, yeah, no, this is really tough. It sounds glamorous and everything to be in the media, to be in the news, and to enjoy that, enjoy the advocacy part of it, but at the same time, when you come home, it's rough, just because you have started from rock bottom all the way again.
Yeah, I truly can't imagine, especially leaving your home and your family and then having to deal with
Mm.
this huge case. Like this is it's so difficult, so I can't imagine at
And I
all.
think what it is in our culture, moving around, especially for a woman, is kind of there's a negative stigma towards it.
Yeah.
My parents are very progressive. My friends circle the same thing. They said, "Yeah, this is awesome, great, do it." And there is that, niceness about it. But I think the negative part is I shouldn't have to move because of something discriminatory. If I want to move, if I want to go to a new place, it should
Yeah,
be off my own back. It
exactly.
should be 100% excitement, not excitement mixed with I'm a refugee, you
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
And then I also didn't like the fact that I'd go to the Gurdwara and it was in the first few months people would point at me and be like,
Yeah.
that's the girl on the news, that's the
Yeah.
girl. And, I understand, they're pointing because, wow, the person we're seeing on TV is right in front of us. But
Yeah.
it made me feel embarrassed a bit.
Yeah.
It made me feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but I kind of felt like I was this person just to look and comment on,
Yeah.
someone to pity or feel sorry for, which I get it. You do feel sorry for someone who's gone through racism, but at the same time, I didn't want to be a victim. So that's why I moved and said, no, I'm going to continue to teach and I'm going to pursue this legally as well too,
Yeah.
and just continue living my life. So it was a case of just positive emotions with negative emotions and having to deal with it privately.
Yeah.
Because those negative emotions, seldomly do people ask you that. And the people who you see every day, they see that, okay, this is a rough day for her.
Yeah.
Or, she's getting better month by month and she's happier.
Yeah. No, and I can't imagine you've handled it so gracefully. And then speaking about media specifically, in one of your interviews, you
Mhm.
had said that when you grow up in a community, you want to contribute to it. I unfortunately couldn't just because of the way I look at my faith. And that quote
Mhm.
definitely struck a chord with so many of us. So what does that mean to be told that you're not welcome in the very classrooms that you were raised in?
To be really honest, you don't believe it because you've grown up seeing the exact opposite. So much positivity. Even when some of the photo shoots that I did in the schools were in my old classrooms, and the principals were my old teachers who had just climbed up the ladder. So when they saw me, they were excited and they're like, oh my God, you're a teacher. That's awesome. But then at the same time, they were like, no, this law is just ridiculous. It's stupid. So I could see it on their faces. So the fact that I couldn't give back to my community, something felt inherently wrong with it. But I didn't have any qualms with the people in the education system because they were unanimously saying, no, this is ridiculous. I mean, to go into a school, you need the support and the permission of the principal and the administration there. And they were so happy. They're like, go ahead, take pictures, do whatever you want to do. So I had their backing, which
Yeah.
just made you see and understand that no, this is just media
Yeah.
generated. This is sensationalized by a couple of CAC politicians, and then people are following that bandwagon without really seeing what's happening inside of a school.
Yeah. No, it's really nice to hear that you at least had the support of the educators, especially ones
Mhm.
that you've previously known. I think just knowing that those people on the ground have your back is such a
Yeah.
huge aspect to this. You've also powerfully said that I cannot just practice my faith part-time, and that line
Mhm.
again speaks volumes to not just Sikhs, but to anyone whose beliefs are part of their identity. Can you talk
Mhm.
about what it means to compromise your faith in the workplace?
I don't think it's a compatible sentence or it's a sentence that makes any sense in any capacity, whether you're religious or not, because your beliefs are what make you you, unless you're a robot,
Yeah.
unless you are, um, you know, uh, asked to be something for your job in specific. I don't think that makes any sense whatsoever. I mean, I know people who are like diehard Leafs fans and
Yeah.
diehard um Habs fans, and they can't, reject that, and they find ways to put in their bias, whether it be through a comedic lens or, something more serious about their views on abortion or women's rights or anything else.
Yeah.
So why aren't they being policed?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't police someone for having beliefs of equality, religious freedom, standing up to intolerance,
Yeah.
because that's what the physical stuff represents, right? So I think that's really hard for some people to grasp. And on the other side, when they say that, okay, no, just take off your religious symbols, I think they're looking at it through an Abrahamic lens,
Yeah.
and they don't maybe understand it holistically that no, there's some faiths out there that it's not simply just a piece of garment.
Yeah.
It is a part of a daily practice or, you know, a practice that happens every waking moment and whatnot. So it's not compatible. And I think the lens that these politicians are going at it, they fully well know the other side of the argument, but they're choosing to ignore that and push this, no, you can take off your clothes, you can take off your cross, no big deal. But it doesn't actually work like that in the real world.
Exactly. No, thank you so much for touching on that. And yeah, even I know you were talking about how difficult it has been for you to be in the media and to be challenging this case, but
Mhm.
you still chose to stand up and you didn't let the story end with you quietly leaving Quebec. Instead, you brought this experience to the courts, now to the Supreme Court of Canada. So, what motivated you to take that next step to keep fighting?
At first it was because I'm directly hit.
Yeah.
People like myself are directly hit, so there's that, little bit of disdain for the politics and the government. Then later on, when I was a teacher, I realized no, it's more than that. It's my students, because the students that I'm teaching, they're global citizens. They're going to have to compete in the workforce in the world. So they need to talk to different types of people. They need to have these good positive values. Um, and then later on, I think, being a parent, I look at my son.
Yeah.
I would never want him to go through what I've gone through. I want him to be able to pursue anything because he can. He has the skills, he has the merit, not because of what he looks like. I'd rather him be judged by what's in his brain.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at this kind of legislation, it affects so many different types of people. And I find it really hard to dissociate yourself from it because you can't. There's so many lenses that you can look at it. If you're not directly affected,
Yeah.
kids are directly affected. The future workforce is parents. It's your future kids.
Yeah.
It's the people that they are going to be around. Do you want them to grow up having hate for your culture or your religion? No. So it speaks to so many different types of people. And at the same time, in my case, it was just different layers to it at different points in my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So you're now an appellant in one of the most significant constitutional cases in recent Canadian history. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the challenge to Bill 21, and your story is at the heart of this case. What do you hope the court and the country hears in your voice?
Um, that's a really loaded question. I think what I hope that they hear is more of this whole concept of laïcité being really unjust and that being a valid point. I think a lot of people have said it in the past in the news, media, um, and people just kind of brush it off. But the fact that it's gone to the Supreme Court adds a certain level of validity. I think also at the same time with, the court case and just having my ideas and my voice represented, someone who grew up in Quebec, and went through the whole education system, just like any other child. But why are they being disbarred? Um, it's because of racism. So I feel like going to the Supreme Court brings the idea of racism to light, that it still exists in Quebec.
Yeah.
It exists everywhere, but it's something that we actively have to just combat and really speak about.
Yeah, I agree. And again, this case, like you were mentioning earlier, isn't just about Sikhs, Muslims, or Jewish communities. It's about anyone who visibly practices their faith. So, what would you say to Canadians who haven't felt the direct impact of Bill 21 but are watching from the outside?
I have a problem with that question because I think everybody is affected in some small way.
Mm.
Um, some of those ways might be grand for others, like myself. For other people, it might be the fact that your child is growing up with this idea of hating people of faith
Yeah,
or seeing it as some criminal activity. It's appalling that a school teacher in Chelsea was asked to leave because of her hijab.
yeah,
It's not a crime to do that. And
yeah,
kids are being taught that when these laws are put in place. And right now, people who work at daycares wearing religious symbols are told, no, you can't do it. So it sends this kind of notion to the general public that there's some criminality with it.
mm,
And that's a small way how they're affected. And then when these kids grow up, they're going to go on business trips all across the world, meet different types of people. If you have it in your mind ingrained from a young age that religious people, they can't think for themselves, they're going to indoctrinate you,
yeah,
and think about the interactions you're going to have later on. And then those people who work with religious symbols, they have this insecurity amongst themselves that, oh no, like I can't express myself. I can't be myself because I'm going to be attacked for it. And that's something that no one should have as an insecurity. It should be a mark of confidence that, okay, it makes me look different. People are going to remember me a little bit better. Um, in the end of the day, work is work.
Yeah.
And that's all I should be thinking about when I'm in the workplace.
Yeah.
So the fact that people can't just go on about their business like they can, it really speaks to that latter end of the people who are most affected. But I think everybody is just in different ways. And the sad part is I think a lot of people feel disconnected from this reality.
Mm. Yeah.
Just because, I mean, maybe those conversations aren't reaching them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like even for folks who are in Quebec, they're really talking about it, but even people in Ontario, they're not as aware. It's kind of like people forget about it, and then in other
Yeah.
provinces, people are forgetting about it. But I'm glad that with the case coming to Supreme Court, of course, is back on everyone's radar.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think the Sikh community as well. But going back to the Sikh community, we have a long history of standing up for the rights of all, and Sangharsh is something that's in our DNAs, but so is Seva. Your Seva in this
Mhm.
case is fighting not only for your right to wear the star, but for the rights of every Canadian who's ever felt excluded because of their identity. How do you see this moment in light of your Sikh values and upbringing?
Um, I think that's a really good question. It's really compatible, and I think it speaks to what everybody should be doing on a regular basis. Um, is standing up to injustice, whether that's big or small, wherever it manifests in your life. And I think the reason why it was easy for me to do this is because there's organizations like the World Sikh Organization that encourage you to do it, that support you. The Gurdwara Committee, especially LaSalle, DDO, they had my back and they said, Shabash, keep doing what you're doing. Anything you need from us, do it. And it's nice coming from that support because anyone in any position has the confidence to stand up for yourself. And at the same time, we come from a history of Sabiyachar of seeking justice. I mean, our Chote Sahibzade, they did it when they were kids.
Yeah,
I'm not comparing myself or anyone else to them because we can't. We can only aspire to do what they have done. But that sets forth a legacy. It sets forth a standard amongst all of us. So I think taking this action was a no-brainer just because of the background that comes from, but it was more strengthened by the people around me. And the fact that they said, yeah, let's do it, the encouragement. And I think what was nice is that sometimes when you're talking in the media and you're talking about yourself, you get this bit of insecurity that, oh my God, like I'm just talking about myself and being really egotistical. But it was nice that everybody said, no, you're doing this, for yourself, but you're also doing it for the principle. And that being acknowledged, that being said to me, made me feel that I wasn't doing anything wrong.
yeah,
And it was nice that the Gurdwara and then uncles, aunties, people, from any background just said, good stuff. We heard you, and anything you need, let us know.
yeah. No, 100%. And I believe you touched on this already, but I do still want to ask you. But as this legal battle continues, we know the road ahead might not be easy, but your courage again already echoes across provinces and courtrooms. And what gives you the strength in moments of doubt?
In moments of doubt, I think it's Guru Sahib.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so there's so many Shabads that talk about why do you have to worry because Guru Sahib has your back.
Mm.
And when you listen to those things, it just puts everything into perspective. Even the fact that this law came into fruition is a part of Hukam.
Yeah.
Everything that happens with it is so you have to do your part in doing what's right and what your duty is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also have to just let go and say, look, I've done all that I can.
Yeah.
And I've done it wholeheartedly. Baki sara Guru Sahib te hai gaya. All I can do is ardas. And whatever comes from it comes from it. But even if it's not repealed, that still means that there's work to be done to promote anti-racism in Quebec. There's more work needed to promote, religious freedom. It's still something that, I'd want to be a part of, and I still think it's very important to just promote and encourage. So, in short, yes, Bill 21 has, been a part of my life for 6 years and a part of many people's lives. Whatever the outcome is, there's still more work to do to prevent anything worse happening, um, or just to make sure that there's more freedom.
Yeah.
And that I think comes from third party advocacy, that comes from volunteers, that comes from the community. I
Mm.
mean, what's stopping Quebec from having a Sikh private school?
Yeah. Yeah.
there's so much that can be done, but it's really up to those people in the province to do something. And if people outside the province want to help, by all means, but
Exactly.
it doesn't end here.
100%. No, thank you so much for sharing all of your thoughts today. It means so much to have you sitting with us. Thank you again for your courage, your grace, and your unwavering commitment to your faith and to justice. And thank you so much, Tara Singh, as well, for joining towards the end. Your story reminds us that faith is not a private matter to be hidden away. It's a living, breathing part of who we are, and no law should ever make someone choose between their belief and their livelihood. To our listeners, this case will shape the future of religious freedom in Canada. We encourage you to stay informed, speak up, and support those who are on the front lines of this struggle. If you'd like to learn more or support this cause, visit worldsikh.org. This has been Right to Believe. Until next time, stay informed, stay grounded, and never compromise on who you are. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ